Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much.
Good.
How's Ting in Blighty?
Well, you tell me about your month first, and then I'll tell you about mine.
Well, so I'm just going to do the whole thing, am I?
Yeah, well, it's entirely up to you. The majority of what I have to tell you is in my first section, as always. So you play your end however you like.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I am getting ready to go home, and it's an interesting one because I thought I didn't have any stuff, but you open drawers and you think there was a lot of clutter in here.
Sorry, now hang on. Going home for 5 minutes or for the rest of your life? I'm confused.
Oh, right. Yes, of course. We haven't really talked about this, have we? What happened was there was a culmination of events, starting with the 8 weeks with no internet, but there were other things involved as well. And Phoebe was coming this week. And I thought, well, I was planning to go back with her anyway because I was going to go to Dublin to speak. And then that got put off. But I thought, when I was contemplating the idea of going home just perhaps for a month to work on this new project that's coming up, because the internet was not reliable here at the time, I realised I didn't fancy the idea of coming back again, which was interesting. And it wasn't to do with the fact that I've gone off the place. It was just to do with the fact of it gets very quiet in the winter, even more quiet, and I spend quite a few days on my own. And I thought, and Phoebe and I had that conversation where she got a little bit teary and I got a little bit teary about, missing me, but wanting me to live my best life and everything. And at that point, Irving sort of semi-announced officially that he was moving out to Joe's. And I thought, well, if I don't take up the opportunity of the room in the flat, they'll have one of their other little Herbert mates in there. So, yeah. So it all came together at a good time, and it felt like the right decision. I've got to say, this week we're having such a lovely time with Pete and Eleanor and Phoebe and everyone out here, and we're just going to the beach and going out and sitting out in the evenings. I'm sort of wondering if I've made the right decision, but I feel pretty sure I have.
Because so the return date is when, Nicola?
This Saturday.
Which will be the 7th.
Yes.
And are you thinking it's forever, or do you think you'll come back out next summer, or what?
I think I'm swapping the emphasis, because, for a while I thought live here and pop home often, but now I'm thinking live there and pop out here often.
So you're keeping your gaff there as well, or not?
No, I've given notice on that because they put it up. They're going to be putting it up for sale anyway in the spring.
Okay.
And to be honest, if something big happened between now and then, I would definitely buy it because it's a lovely little house and it's just perfect for what I want.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I can come back for a month at a time. I've got friends who've got houses. I've got who leave them empty for periods of time, and. Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be an issue if I suddenly decide I want a month in Stupa.
Okay, so that's a big change since we last spoke.
It's an internal psychological change, and I think it's come about because I'm not so... When I was in so much pain from Steve dying, I just couldn't be around anybody at all. I felt so raw, everything hurt, and I just couldn't do it. But now I feel I'm ready to rejoin the world. I feel I can be around people again without having to hide how I feel, because the pain's gone away now, largely.
One of your motivating factors was is the same as it ever was, which is that we don't go out much in the UK because it's dark and miserable and rainy.
Yes, that is worrying.
That's perennial. That's still here.
I know, that's worrying me a bit, I must say. But I'm going to have to make an effort. I'm going to have to join some hobby kind of things. I'm determined to go swimming a few times a week because there is a nicely newly done swimming pool just down the road, a bus ride away. Phoebe said I can use her car whenever she likes because she only really uses it in the evenings. So I will be mobile and I will just have to make the effort.
Okay. And do they live, I don't think I know where they live. Do they live somewhere modern or old-fashioned or overlooking some water or anything?
Yeah, it's a 3-bedroom flat, second floor, over the road from the Crown and Anchor, overlooking the river.
Okay, I know roughly,
Nice.
I think.
It's a nice flat.
Yeah, okay. Over the road from the Crown and Anchor sounds dangerous.
Well, not anymore, because it's not the pub they go to. But
okay. But it's nice, the Crown and Anchor, I think.
Yeah.
I've been in there.
Yes, it's very nice. I mean, Shoreham's really nice. I like Shoreham. If I was going to choose to live anywhere, it would be Shoreham.
Yes.
And Phoebe and I are talking about investigating getting into property together, because Pete's been telling us about all sorts of interesting things while he's been out here. And, there are a lot of more financing options now. If you come across a good property deal, there are lots of very interesting financing options which have sprung up because of the limitations of the banks and the building society. So there's lots of interesting packages for property investors nowadays.
Okay. Will he help you with that?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, him and Tim. Remember Tim?
I do.
Yes. Well, they're a partnership, a team. So it's all good. I'm feeling positive. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm looking forward to it. I'm feeling I've made a choice. Not when I've been backed into a corner for a change.
Yes, a proactive choice, not a reactive one.
Yeah, exactly. So
they are nice. They are much nicer, those, aren't they?
I don't know. I've never made them.
No, they're much nicer. They're just much nicer. It feels like moving forward rather than skirting an emergency.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I've never been very good at making decisions. I mean, I am the woman who bought a book called How to Make Difficult Decisions, because I'm never very sure of what I want or what's good for me or what I feel. But I must be much more in tune with my intuition now, because I sat down on the step one day after something happened and I thought, all of this is pointing towards me going back. So, and it felt right. And I haven't changed my mind about that core bit, even when I'm looking at the latest sunset,
And interestingly, the internet thing was a drag. Did that get resolved in the end?
Yes, it's totally been resolved, but it got resolved the day after I made my decision.
Yeah, which is life, isn't it? And what else? There was another factor in this as well. Oh yes, there was all the sort of the potential Brexit paperwork admin nightmare coming up, wasn't there?
Yeah, that wasn't really having such a big effect on it, because you can wade your way through it if you've got a rental agreement and
if you're sufficiently motivated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It would have been awkward and inconvenient, but it wouldn't have been anything else worse than that.
No.
So I'm sort of terrified but excited, if you know what I mean.
And have you had a nice August?
Oh yes, it's been lovely. It's been super hot. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And it only just really started dropping, the week before Phoebe arrived, and it's very bearable now and very pleasant indeed. So.
And is Phoebe still with you?
Yes, she is. Yeah, she's.
So do you two go back together on Saturday?
Yes, we do.
And when are you going to Dublin?
Not going. That's been put back now because they're relaunching the film. It's all off the back of a film called The Evolution of Success.
Yeah.
And they're relaunching the film because they've moved it from. They've had a lady who we met in Vegas who used to work for Frank Kern out staying with them, and she's completely moved the platform that all the marketing's on over to ClickFunnels, and she's been doing all that, and so they wanted to hang back before they did the event that went with the film release.
Okay. But
they're still on the cards.
Right. And have they been to visit you for a holiday as well?
No, they were talking about coming, but they didn't come in.
Okay.
Which is just as well, because I really couldn't have fitted anybody else in.
No, okay.
But we've had such a laugh with Pete and Eleanor, his wife, because his sister was out as well, and she's got loads of kids, so their daughter's been hanging out with the other kids. So they said it's been like being on holiday on her own. It's been marvellous.
Well, that's nice for the little girl, the other little Eleanor, because she's an only child, isn't she?
She is, yes.
Yes,
as well, so it's nice for her to hang out with other kids.
Yeah.
But she just cut all her hair off recently. She's gone all nothing compares to you-esque.
All grown up.
Yeah, very grown.
Yeah, when you're allowed to make your own hair cutting choices, you're nearly a teenager, aren't you?
Yeah, she had it all cut off right down to a real short haircut, which is fantastic. Bobbing about in the sea,
Exactly. And the best thing about hair, of course, is it grows back.
Yes, that's right. You can never make too many bad decisions with hair.
No. I remember actually one of our colleagues always used to say, it's not true anymore, but it was in those days, if you make a daft decision when you buy a property, the market corrects it. The same with hair. If you make a daft decision when you cut your hair, nature corrects it by allowing it to grow back in.
Painfully slowly, it feels sometimes.
Well, at the beginning, I think. Although I was standing in the bathroom this morning thinking, my hair's grown quickly in 2 weeks. Mine does grow fast, which is good, actually. Sign of good health.
Yeah, well, I need an urgent colour because I haven't done mine. My roots are showing.
Well, you're going back to Kim.
Well, I know, but she's going to really put me through it because of my jokes about getting a good cheap haircut in Greece.
Well, cheap, yes, but she'll say you get what you pay for, won't she? Because I think she's had some opinions about some of the haircuts you've had since you've been out there.
She's not very keen on my monster's fringe. But it's going to stay because it hides the bald bits at the side.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, what about you then? What you?
Okay, so I've got a long chunk to tell you in this first section. So when I left you at the end of July, I was living in the home of a friend in Surrey who had 2 black cats. They were in Greece for 3.5 weeks. And on the 10th of August, I moved from Surrey to Oxfordshire to the home of someone who I met through the money gym, who's become a friend. And she's got 2 cats, one black, one white, and the white one was very sociable. She lived in a the house wasn't so much beautiful as the location of the house was beautiful. It was detached and in the middle of rolling golden fields of something. I'm afraid I'm not good enough to tell you. I don't know enough about crops to tell you what it was a field of. But when it's no, not yellow, golden, like barley, like stings stung. But when you live in a detached house, which has obviously got 4 sides, the brilliant thing about that for me as a moon watcher and a sun watcher is that you can see the sunrise and the moonrise. And it was a full moonrise when I was there. And it was the night the cats chose not to come in from the garden when I did the shaking of the treat box. So I had to spend about an hour in the garden catching them, in which case I saw this enormous, great big fat sunset and then a fat moonrise next to it. Sort of magic, really. But it made me think, detached house, good thing, because you've got 4 sides as the planets move around you in a month, which is really brilliant. That was nice. And after that, extraordinary thing happened where I went on I knew I needed a house sit, so I went on the Housesitting website and I saw a gig, Flitwick, which was where I was before. Do you remember? But it's not the same one. Do you remember where I was there? And I had that marvellous experience with the hairdressers and the beauticians, and I loved it. Well, it's like a micro dot. You know, in your real life, you wouldn't go to Flitwick twice, but I've been there twice since May now. And I told the lady when applying for the house sit to check out the other review I'd got from Flitwick, and she said, "Oh yes, I know Sarah." And the lady that was hiring me for this week, the advert she put on Trusted House Sitters said she had a hot tub. So I bought myself a swimming costume because mine was in storage, and that she had 3 adult cats and a kitten. By the time I got there was no hot tub, so the expenditure on the swimming costume was wasted. And there were not only 3 cats, but 3 kittens as well. The kittens nearly finished me off, actually. I will never do kitten work ever again. One morning, I think the neighbours would have heard me. I was standing in the shower and all 3 of them were in there with me because they get in everywhere. And I would have been heard to say out through the bath. Well, they go everywhere. So you open a door and they go in the room.
Yeah.
You know, they're like babies. Imagine you've got triplets.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not allowed out the back door. But their mum wants to go out the back door. They're not allowed out yet. Okay, so they eat 3 times, they shit 3 times, they run amok 3 times, then they fall asleep.
Right.
And but in this memorable morning, I think it was Thursday. I mean, I hated them. When people said, "Oh, lovely," I went, "No, they're vile." I hated them. I absolutely hated them. And I was pulling them out. As you pull them out of the shower so you can have a shower, they're all getting back in. And I was standing naked in the shower and the bathroom window was open and the neighbours would have heard me say, "I hate they think kittens," like that. That was like, but I confessed to the lady I was staying with that I was finding them challenging. And she said, "Oh, we just ignore them. Why are you finding them challenging?" And she explained. I said, "You know, you're a mother." She'd got 6 children of her own, this woman. "You're a mother. I haven't chose to be that. I find this," I described their behaviour. Anyway, come Saturday, which I thought was the end of the gig, I packed up and left. And when I got to the new place, I cheerily sent her a message saying, "Hello, There were 6 there when I left, and I've seen the one that lives in the garden, and I filled up all the food bowls, and the litter tray was clear, and I'd fed the fish, and is everything okay? She goes, oh my God, we're not coming back until tomorrow. And then she accused me of leaving early because I'd confessed that I didn't like the kittens.
Oh, no.
So this was a house sitting. This wasn't my finest hour. It was my fault, but it was a house sitting low.
Yeah.
But now I'm staying in a friend's cottage. They've got 3 houses all over the world, and their one in England isn't their favourite, although it's absolutely beautiful to my eyes. They've got 2 lovely black cats, one of whom is also very sociable. He's with me now, snoozing. And I'm here for the foreseeable future. It's the most peaceful place I've ever been, because sometimes you can hear absolutely nothing at all. No cars, no planes, no motorway. So yesterday when I was prepping for this, I heard a horsey clip-clopping and some farm machinery lumbering, but mostly I just hear the wind in the greenery and the bird life, because there's ducks, geese, moorhen, partridges, pheasants, there's all sorts of birdies like that. And they do quacking and diving for food in the pond, obviously. But I'm in this lovely, it's turned out all right, but there was a nasty low point in the middle where I accidentally...
Did you have to go back then?
No, I was miles away by then, and it was a boiling hot day, and she had 3 adult children nearby, and she said, but one of them had gone to Wales for the weekend with the key. She said, have you left any windows open? I said, yes, I have, because I thought you were coming back later today. I've left the one that the big cat uses to get in and out, and the one in the bathroom. We haven't discussed it since, and she hasn't put a review, good or bad, about me on Trusted House Sitters, which is just as well, because she misrepresented the gig that I took on. But anyway, all in the past now, and I've landed on my feet, which is great. Now, before we went on holiday, I told you that 2 of my nearest and dearest people have had operations. They're all fit and well, thank goodness. I'm going to visit the sick probably next week. I've done some nice holiday admin. My car, which hasn't done very many miles, but has been with me since 2010, which is 9 years, has been recalled by Nissan twice, once for the driver's airbag and once for the passenger's airbag. So I did the passenger's airbag in Oxfordshire. That was quite fun. And although I was on holiday in August, like I am in December, I did do 9 client calls. I'm not quite sure how they snuck into my diary. There's one client of mine who just avoids me in August because she's the only respecter of boundaries I know in life. None of us do that anymore. None of us respect boundaries. We just we expect 24/7. And all the people who were in my diary were absolutely lovely, and they all had special reasons for being there, like I couldn't fit them in July, or they had an urgent need, or, they all had really good reasons, and I allowed it. But so it was a busman's holiday, really. And finally, I did a little bit of what may turn out to be premature house hunting, in as much as I actually went to look at something that I would like to live in, and fell in love with it, despite the fact that you're not supposed to do that, obviously. I've got one that I would rent and one that I would buy, and I'm quite sanguine about where I end up, because I realised on the point you made this morning, as I was walking through this wonderful house, it's probably got, I haven't been upstairs, it's probably got, 5 bedrooms, it's got a swimming pool, it's got big land, it's got a cottage that I'm living in, it's got a duck pond. I mean, as I was walking through it past the grand piano, I thought, I am completely unmoved by, I'm delighted I'm living in lovely surroundings, because when I live in nasty ones, they upset me.
Yeah.
But I'm completely unmoved by a luxurious big house. It isn't what I need. The things I need and want these days are very different. And I think the horrors and the delights of house sitting has been very informative in that, because it comes down to, the peace and quiet. The absolute lack of any noise is more important to me than almost anything.
I know, and I suspect that's what will drive me back here occasionally, because the noise levels in England will be intolerable.
Well,
and it is really quiet here. I mean, there are no planes because we're not under a flight path. There's no, we get a jet perhaps once a week coming past, but going to look at Turkey and then coming back again. And we have no roads to speak of, and barely, so I hear the old man shouting in Greek that he's got scrap metal, and that's about it.
Well, we must remember that England is a tiny overcrowded, or Great Britain is a tiny overcrowded island where everybody wants to live. So we do make noise as human beings. But it is I've been on this, when I went to Mexico with Michael Neal, which was just before I met you, it was about 2002. And, there's a noise, might have to move. I went to this place called La Paz, and when he asked me what it was that I wanted in life, I said peace, and he went, La Paz, you mean? Because that's the Mexican word, Spanish word for peace. Oh, sorry, Nicola. There's somebody at the front door.
Okay.
Hang on.
Go.
Coming! Well, thank goodness I had you as an excuse. It was the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, honestly, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and it's two Jehovah's from Droitwich on the doorstep.
You could have had some fun with them if you hadn't been on the call.
Oh, well, if only. I don't think I would ever invite them in for a chat because they're just trying to... I mean, I already have my own views and values. I don't really... There's nothing they could offer me. So
you're not turnable.
Well, not in the born-again sense, no.
Right, so we were talking about noise levels and everything. That's good. So,
well, that was quite ironic in a way, wasn't it? No sooner did I... there is a little fault here with the burglar alarm. I don't think they use the burglar alarm, but we had a power cut over the weekend, and now when I move about, it makes a beeping noise. So it beeped. What I didn't realise it meant was, look out, Judith, there's two Jehovah's coming to your front door.
Yeah, very funny. So you're there for the foreseeable, did you say?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Which was good, actually, because there was absolutely nothing I could find on Trusted House Sitters. And more than that, I think that the experience with the kittens just enabled me to realise after a year how exhausted I was from it.
Yeah, well, for the whole moving.
Well, I mean, the lovely thing is the two before that, they were friends. So one left me a bottle of pink champagne and the other one left me a goodie basket full of lovely things. Looking after houses for friends is completely different because they're very kind and generous and thoughtful and appreciative, and they give you presents and all sorts of things. People on Trusted House Sitters can sometimes treat you like a lackey.
Yeah. Like a
servant,
servant,
like a servant, which isn't very nice. But nevertheless, I still do my best. But a little break from Trusted House Sitters is not a bad thing.
Cool. Okay. So has anything fueled your fire at all?
One thing, but you tell me yours first. Otherwise, we get into that sequence where you start interviewing me and you never get a chance to speak.
Yes. All right. Well, I have been very fueled this August. I have been extremely fueled. I decided I was going to do something completely different for August and take, a change is as good as a rest, etc. And there was this 30-day challenge that being run by ClickFunnels. Now, ClickFunnels is a software. It's a movement. It's run by Russell Brunson, who I've heard a lot about in the past. You remember Justin Brooke got his start by going to intern for him.
Yep.
And I thought, well, okay, I can do the 30-day challenge. And the good thing about ClickFunnels is you can become an affiliate without having to buy the product. So it's totally not what I object to in MLM or anything like that. Although Russell is taking the best bits of MLM, the community and the peer support and everything and the events and putting those into the whole thing. But it's genius. So he runs this, I thought it was a one-off, but it turns out to be a rolling 30-day challenge. So, when one finishes, the next one starts. And you go through it. And I'm in a group with 4,000 other people. So we're talking a shed load of people joining. And it's $100. And if you introduce anyone else to the challenge, you get your $100 back for each person you introduce. So there's a way of making money from day one. You don't have to do the challenge and then invest in ClickFunnels. You can do it with whichever software you're currently using. Although I have to say, the ClickFunnels software is making it a lot easier.
I have a client who's obsessed by ClickFunnels software.
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised, to be honest. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm really, really impressed with it. But I'd made $800 surprise commission from them a while ago because I had it on my page, where people come to find out. I remember. You'd got a surprise
thing in your bank, and we worked out what it was. Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so let's have a better look at this. And it was interesting because the week I decided to do it, I was on a call with my clients and, on the live webinars, and they said, so why are you doing it? Because you've always said not to build your business on something that's owned by someone else.
Oh, they've been paying attention.
Yes, they have. And I had to think quite highly about it. And I thought, well, there's several reasons, really. One is that it is a fantastic bit of kit. And so you can actually save yourself a lot of time by not cobbling together lots of different things if you don't want to.
And are they right? Are you actually building it on somebody else's? Yes,
because you're it's $97 a month but which is very comparable to what Lead Pages was.
I agree. Yeah,
but it's got so much more functionality.
Yeah,
and so it's affordable. It's easy to use once you've learned it. It's not just a platform for your business. And the thing is, I always talk about people testing offers quickly, get to market quickly, test offers quickly. Instead of taking months or years to build something, just get that offer out there, and ClickFunnels enables you to do it. So it's a means to market. It's a software product in itself, and it's a skill, because once you've learned it, and I've got to tell you, the training within the challenge on marketing and things like finding your market segment, building your irresistible offer, there's a lot of training in there that I, as a veteran marketer, needed reminding of. And so I was very impressed with the actual thing. So what I've done is I spent August getting the Money Gym book onto Audible. This was the whole point of what I was doing, because it was going on to Audible, and I thought, well, I can't just let it go on there with a whimper. I'd rather it went on with a bit of a bang. So I thought, let's relaunch the Money Gym materials as a way of promoting the Money Gym book on Audible. And I was a bit unsure about what I was going to do, but as I worked through the training, it all became clear. So instead of offering just the Money Gym book for sale, or the Money Gym audio, or a bundle of both, I'm offering a package which involves the Money Gym paperback, the Money Gym ebook they get immediately, the Audible version, the quality, Audible quality version, which they just download as audio. Then I'm giving them 3 other books. I'm sending them 3 other physical books that I think they'll need. One about property, one about business finance, and one about the stock market. I'm then giving them access to a mastermind group. And what else am I giving them? Oh, I'm giving them 20 of the best money tips I've ever been told by anyone while I was interviewing them for the Business Success Factory. Oh, what else is there? There's several other things. Anyway, so it's about stacking the offer till it becomes irresistible.
So that they get what?
So
that you sell them what in the end?
It's a $97 package of the Money Gym products.
No, the list that you just gave me is the thing you're selling. That's not a lead magnet.
No. Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's another conversation about the lead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what it did was, and Russell did a fantastic video which I've just loved, which was about stacking. Do you remember when we go to events and they say, "Here's a pen, I want you to buy it," and then they make this pen irresistible gradually by adding things of value that are related to the offer of a pen. Have you ever seen anyone do that?
No.
Oh, it's really fascinating. It's like, oh, here's a bottle of water. They often do it with bottles of water as well. So they'll start with, here's a bottle of water, it's $100, or a pen, and $100. Everyone laughs. And then they start adding things to it, to the package they're offering with that pen or with that bottle of water, until it gets to the point where someone says, hell yeah, I'll have it for $100. And that's about making an offer irresistible. And it was the missing thing of, I talk about James Schramko saying, have an offer that converts. Sometimes it's not the offer that's not converting, it's the fact that you haven't made it irresistible enough.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've created a Money Gym package, which also means that I'm going to be ordering books from Amazon, because that part of the package is they get a paperback version. So that will help my sales on Amazon, and they'll be getting the audio, which is I've got just to tell you, I've got 100 vouchers for a free audio version of the book. So if anyone's listening and they want one and they'll promise to review it, then email me and I will sort you out with a coupon. I need to know which country you're in. So email me your name and your email address and your country, and then I'll send you back a coupon to get a free audio version, and then you can review it for me. But so that's what I've been doing in August, really, and it really has fueled my fire, because it's reminded me, when you have the right kit, how easy it is to put products together, get them to market fast, and then deliver them to the customer.
And not to put a downer on this, but out of curiosity purely, and back to the point of building it on somebody else's, if the day ever dawned when you wanted to leave, what would you lose?
I would lose some pages that I would then have to recreate in Thrive Article.
Not much then. So actually, you're not heavily dependent on somebody else's platform.
No, I mean, because they actually recommend that you host your videos and things on YouTube or Amazon or whatever. They don't try and get you, unlike Kajabi, where they insisted in the beginning you upload all your stuff to them. So they held you hostage in a way. This is just a really clever way of building a funnel. So you build an opt-in page, a thank you page, an offer page, a tiny upsell page, so little, they call it a product bump page, a one-time offer page on the back end, and then a thank you, here is your purchases, your product page. So they don't have a thank you page on the back of the product buying, they have a these are the products you bought page. And then they also have, in the lowest package, they have a login page and a here's your stuff page, and you can basically create really good looking pages very easily on all of those things. And I'm not great at graphic design, as you know, and they give you a ready-made funnel that you literally just change the words, change the pictures, and change the logos.
So it couldn't be easier, really.
It couldn't be easier. No, it's absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed with it. It's amazing. So if you want to join the challenge, go to nicolacairncross.com/one funnel, and I can help support you through that, because I've done it.
Is it a one number or a one word?
It's just the word, one funnel.
O-N-E funnel.
O-N-E, yeah.
Yes, right.
Because I've done it and I can support you through it, and I literally have done it. And that's why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to be in integrity. I didn't want, by the time I'd been through it so much and got so much value out of it, I thought, well, the least I can do is use their software and then learn how to use it so that I can give support to anyone who joins through my link. And so, yeah, no, I'm very impressed. It's nice to come across something that thoroughly impresses you rather than makes you feel a bit icky or depressed. So, so that's what's fueled my fire in August.
Okay, that's good. Of course, my raison d'etre is not to have a fire at all in August, it being, summer. Yes. So my fire wasn't fueled until Monday night, and it's only Wednesday today, when suddenly, it was the 2nd of September, and it was the night time, so we'd already been through the day. And Monday night, suddenly everybody started emailing me and booking themselves into my diary and galvanising me to embrace September, when really I would love endless August. I always struggle to go back to school for this term, but only for about 48 hours. And fortunately, my clients have bullied me into it, and I can't not respond, because they are just the most joyous aspect of my work.
It's funny.
What a good job. I've got a nice short one, because you've got a very long one.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Chris Barrow wrote on his blog about the night before the first Monday after the August, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't quite that. They let the whole of Monday go, and then as towards the end of the Monday evening, evening it was, when I was bedtime, I was watching the telly. It was like, can you help me with this? Yes. Can I book in for this? Yes. It was kind of like, oh my word! It suddenly went from absolutely empty month to everybody getting the itch at the same time.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
Okay, so focus of the week then.
Well, we're hoping to run Amanda Johnson, and she's a listener guest, and she spoke to us in June about mum guilt. And as you know, I tried to listen to this again yesterday, but I ran into a snag. But you're pretty confident we might be able to run it, so let's assume we are. Yeah. The reason I wanted to listen to it was I was trying to work out if we should have run it before the school holidays, or if going back to school is the right time for this one. You know, I'm not a mum, so I don't know about mum guilt, but let's see what the audience think. Are you guiltier in the holidays or guiltier when they go back to school as a mum?
Oh, I used to feel guiltier in the holidays, so perhaps we should have run it before.
Well, let's see what everybody thinks.
Let's see if it helps people retrospectively get over their mum guilt.
Yes, do come into the Facebook group and tell us. So, Amanda, if we mistimed this for you, I apologise. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Nicola.
Hey, morning.
How are you? Morning. So today is the first of 4 recordings we're making for our guest listeners, and our first is Amanda Johnson. I'm not going to tell them yet, Amanda, about what you're going to talk to us about. Why don't you tell Nicola, who doesn't know you as well as me, and our listeners, who you are, and give us details of your website and what you do for a living, everything, and then we'll go on and talk about your topic, okay?
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So my name's Amanda Johnson, and I run a company which is called VACT Limited. And basically, I coach and train and mentor PAs and EAs and admin professionals to set up and run their own virtual assistant businesses. And then I work with established VAs to help them to get to the next level. And when I say the next level, that's quite loose, because sometimes that's business goals, sometimes that's personal goals, sometimes it's that magic of juggling and getting to where they need to be or what they're trying to achieve in their own businesses. My background, though, is I'm a military veteran. I did 23 years in the Royal Navy.
Wow.
And I had a life-changing event, which will come out probably as we're talking about the topic today. But I had a life-changing event that made me realise that life is too short. And so I was very lucky that I managed to take voluntary redundancy in 2012. I left the Royal Navy one day, launched my company the next day. And that company's changed slightly from when I launched. Initially, when I launched, I was the VA. Because being typical military, I need to do things at the grassroots level first and work my way up to make sure that I can do what I say I can do.
Great
Does
stuff.
that sort of give you an indication of who I am?
It certainly does. Tell us the URL of your business, if you would.
Okay, so the URL is quite simple. It's www.vact.co.uk. And then the various social media profiles are all linked from there. It's probably the easiest place to go from because, unfortunately, I don't have all of the names that I would want. Some other people have claimed them.
Yes, don't worry about that. I will either sort that out in the show notes or whatever. Now, moving swiftly along, as I like to say, that we hardly ever do. Tell us what you're going to talk about.
Well, today I'm going to talk to you about the subject of mum guilt. And what do I mean by that? Well, the guilt that we feel when we are a parent juggling either small children or older children and trying to run a business. But sometimes it's not just mum guilt in the sense of managing children. It can be mum guilt when we've got caring responsibilities for somebody older. It's sort of that same internal feeling that we're probably doing a disservice to one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is a really interesting subject because, well, for two reasons. One, 98% of my clients are female, and probably about 75% of them have got children or a caring responsibility. But the more interesting fact is, for 18 months, when I launched my company, I didn't tell anybody I was a mum. And that was for two reasons. The first reason was there was the fear of not being taken seriously as a business owner. And the second one is I thought people might judge me, that I would not necessarily serve them in a way in which they would want to be served by their VA. And it's really interesting for 18 months because for 9 months of that I was pregnant and had a baby.
The first 9 months you were pregnant, and the second 9 months you had a baby.
Yes.
Yeah. But can you imagine trying to run your business and almost go networking and things like that and just not mention children? Well, I was quite heavily pregnant and I'm not a little lady at the best of times. So,
and knowing what you know now, would you do it that way again?
No.
All right. So what was that all about then?
That was all about coming from a military environment, being institutionalized. I was good at what I did, and a preconceived perception that I had that if I told people I was a business owner, they wouldn't necessarily buy the services that I was offering. Because actually, I didn't want to support mums or anybody like that when I started out in business. When I started out in business, and this sounds very stereotypical and very sexist, but I wanted to support 50-something-year-old men who were used to having a secretary.
Yeah.
And that's a real interesting use of language, I think, because it was men, a certain age, but they were looking for the word secretary.
Yes.
Because I didn't even know what a VA was when I started out as a VA. It was the insurance man that told me, oh, you're going to be a VA. And I was like, what's that? And he said, everything you've described, the person that does pay-as-you-go admin on a as and when basis. And I was like, oh, it's got a job title. And the man said, yes. And I was like, oh, okay. I now feel a real numpty.
So mum guilt has got two meanings then. One, you were a little bit guilty that you were a mum at the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought you were going to talk about, shortchanging the kids.
Well, it's interesting because now in business, I often talk about a work-life integration rather than a work-life balance.
Yep.
Because when we talk about work-life balance, I think we're effectively giving something up, and it can have quite negative connotations, and we almost feel seen off that we've given up something in order to do something else. Whereas with work-life integration, I encourage my clients to do this, make decisions based on what's happening around me. And sometimes that's going to favour my family, and sometimes that's going to favour the business. But ultimately, it's working towards that 10-year goal of where I'm trying to go with our family life and our business life, our lives. And that's one of the reasons why I love your podcast, because it is that mix between life and business, and the two can go hand in hand, but you have to integrate them to go hand in hand.
Yeah, you can't separate one from the other, really, in the world of self-employment. And your husband is self-employed as well, isn't he?
He is self-employed. And so we as a family have had to make some real decisions. So if I share some of the moments when I felt guilty, and then I can show how this fits with Andrew.
Yeah.
So if the children wake up in the morning and they say, "Mummy, I feel sick," or something, I have that real pit in the bottom of my stomach and the knot and the tying, thinking, are you pushing your luck? Or I'll still send you to school, and if you are ill, school or ring me. And I literally go through about 5 seconds of, what if they're really ill and you're sending them to school? How does that make you look? And I'm like, no. If they genuinely are ill, then school will ring me. But because Andrew and I are both self-employed, people say to me, well, it's okay. Either of you can look after your children. But actually, quite often, because my clients are female and they've got children, if I say, oh, I'm really sorry, but I've got a sick one on the sofa today, you might hear the child come in or something like that. They are far more receptive to that, whereas Andrew has to go out and see clients in their own home because he's a mortgage consultant. So the balance of childcare probably sits with me rather than him. And then it's things like during the summer holidays, I feel guilty when I'm with my children because I'm not being with my clients, but I feel guilty for my children when I'm with my clients. And I'm like, hold on a second, this is like a balancing scales. And for many years, I did do that sort of guilty both ways.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, and actually it was around the time I was working with you, Judith, that I realised that I was tired. I was probably exhausted. And having had I'd had chronic fatigue syndrome back in 1999, I could start to see some of the signs again. And I do think sometimes that people play on this burnout to almost get sympathy or support. But I could see some of the signs that I'd had from chronic fatigue sort of 10 years previously. And I realised that actually if I allowed that to carry on, I was going to be in a bad place. And so my husband and I, we reevaluated our priorities and we said, okay, what's going to change? And I remember doing a call with you, and I've been saying to you probably for about 6 months, I want to be this one woman, one website. And I came off a call with you one day and I literally just closed one of my companies, because at that point I had 2. I closed it, and I remember pinging you a message and my accountant a message going, I've just done this and I paid the extra for it all to happen instantaneously at Company's House because I don't want to go back. And so it was at that point, though, I realised, stop beating yourself up. You're doing a good job at all of the things. And it was almost like this relief and release at the same times.
I think also it is only for a period of time, which you are some years into now, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How old are your children?
My children are 9 and 5,
Yep.
or 9 going on 18 when he has his moments,
yes,
and 5 going on 9.
Yes.
And it is only for a period of time. But I think when I look at some of my clients, though, who've got elderly relatives, they actually go through the same emotions that I go through with children.
Yes. It's called being a sandwich woman, isn't it? When you are you're in the middle between the kids and the parents.
Parents, yeah. And you're trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
So I think the reason I talk about mum guilt now, though, is I say to people, what is it you're trying to do? And what is that life you're trying to live? What's the path? And sometimes it's, do you know what, you're only on this path for 12 or 3 years or something, 12 months.
Hold. I'm just trying to work out how to mute this. Sorry,
Can we see what time it is? I can't see what time it is on the recording.
9:13.
Yes, okay, 9:13.
Hold that thought.
That's a Greek.
It rings 5 times and it stops. And that's the end of it.
Okay. 9:13, 11:13 for the edit, Nicola.
Okay. Thank you. Right, carry on, Amanda. Sorry about that.
So I think sometimes, though, it's knowing where you are in your path. So if you know what your 10-year goal is, your 5-year goal, your 3-year goal, or your even 12 months from today goal, it's like, I only need to get through the next so many years. And if you're going to just work with, okay, I only need to get through the X so many years because by then my children will be a certain age, it's about giving yourself permission to do both things.
Yes.
And not to feel guilty
yes.
if you're playing hooky because you're, I don't know, in the cinema with children or
yes.
at the park or whatever. And I think for me then it's about being clear on what your priorities are and knowing that you can't do everything. You don't have to be the best business owner. You just have to have the business that's right for you.
I remember this very well. I remember that particular age group is the most painful when, between sort of 5 and 12 really, because they know, they're much more aware of what you're doing. And the thing I felt very badly was when my business was not doing so well. When my business was doing well, I was absolutely perfectly happy to sit in the cinema with the kids on an afternoon. But when it was doing not so well, or I felt I could be doing more or should be doing more, that's when I felt the terrible internal tension. The good news is the children never knew I felt that terrible internal tension. It was all about my enjoyment of the children being spoiled. And look, talking to them now, 24 and 21, they don't remember any of it. They just remember a really happy childhood with, mum and parent and, whoever
doing
around.
Fun stuff.
and having plenty of time for them, which was really nice. And the fact that I was always at the plays and that sort of business. So their perception of what's going on is very different to your internal wrangling, isn't it?
It is. And I remember this because I grew up, my mum worked 3 jobs. She would finish one job at 5:30. She would start the next one at 6 o'clock. But the days that we had together during summer holidays or Easter holidays or whatever it was were very special. And the rest of the time I was at the swimming pool or with friends. And I don't remember any of the internal struggles that she felt. And every so often she'll say to me, I used to feel so guilty that I work so hard. And I was like, don't, because I didn't notice it.
Yeah. Children are so self-centered, aren't they? They don't notice anything that's not directly affecting them.
But nowadays, because I run training courses, and sometimes those training courses are of a weekend, as I'm getting ready to go, my children will say, oh, Mummy, we'll miss you. Do you really have to go? And I go, yes, because actually, what does Mummy do? And they go, you train people. Okay. And why do I work? Well, it's to earn money so that we can have a nice house, nice holidays, nice toys and things like that. And I'm like, that's exactly the reason. And it's because you want to go camping in the summer for 2 weeks. Mummy needs to work now so that I can take that time off and be with you. And we've always done that right from a young age, is sort of say, look, we've got to work to have this nice life that we have.
And I don't think children should be protected from that or many other realities.
No, totally agree, Judith. I was literally just thinking that same thing, that you're teaching them really good values, work values there.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, mine, if you ever ask them, what do you do? And Jacob, the youngest, who's 5, says, Mummy, you train ladies through the computer. And that's what he tells his teacher and everybody. Mummy trains ladies through her computer. Or she talks to herself through her computer is the other one.
Yeah, mine didn't actually really get a grip on what I did until they were in their late teens, really, when they started to realise that there was some marketing now going on here.
You're lucky. Nobody in my family knows what I do for a living anyway. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
Now, Amanda, have you written down any points on your notes that you want to get across to us that you haven't done as yet?
No, I think I wrote my top tips down, which was sort of give yourself permission to have that integrated life.
And when you give yourself permission, what I heard when you said that, or what I understood, is it eases if the guilt eases if you've given yourself the permission deliberately. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not to listen to other people's. I want to say, but don't bow to peer pressure, because other people will try and make you feel guilty for the decisions that you make, and this is your business, your life, your family. You set the priorities.
Yeah, I think that's harder, isn't it? That's harder because everybody I work with is so susceptible to other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. It's harder, that one.
And it's almost like putting a suit on and just saying, no, this is how I'm going to, these are my rules, these are my core values, this is the way I'm going to live my life.
Yep.
And then what we do in our house is we share those priorities with our family. And by that, I'm talking about myself and my husband, Andrew, and we talk to the children. It's like, Mummy and Daddy need to work really hard in June this month because we're taking the first 3 weeks of July off.
Yeah.
And they get it. Yeah. Even though they're 5 and 9, they get that.
Yes.
And then I also think it's knowing what you can do if you suddenly do need your children to be busy or occupied in order to take that emergency call or something like that. And in our house, my children love it if they get extra iPad time because I limit that. So they see that as, and I feel guilty that they're playing on their iPads and they're like, winner, we get extra iPad time.
So you're not beyond a bribe then.
No, but sometimes I think you've got to.
Yeah.
I think you've got to. But I try not to use those things. So it's almost working out what's right for you and your family and then not letting that guilt take over.
Yeah. And that's where your role as their coach and trainer can be very supportive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because also I'm living that same battle.
Yeah.
And I remember I still do this. I have a to-do list and I have a weekly things list that I'm going to do. And sometimes I literally say, do you know what? It's just survive. It's get through the week and not add anything extra to that list.
Yes.
And know that I'm going to do X and Y for the family and I'm going to do X and Y for the business. And that's okay.
I think a shorter to-do list in both of those areas is much more rewarding as well, because as you complete it, you feel this sense of relief and then you could just have some weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those were my main points. It's about living that integrated life, not feeling guilty, but know what your priorities are and not worry about anybody else.
Yes. It's just as sensible and level-headed as I would expect from you, actually. And it's only a 3-point list, which is marvellous.
Which I was going to say, normally there'd be about 100 lists, 100 points on my list. But do you know what? I've learned that. So that's being 7 years in business. Because for the first 4 or 5 years, I used to feel guilty all of the time. It's only in recent years that I've given myself that permission to do that.
Yeah. I also think something that you said that spoke to me very much is that when one wakes up in the morning and goes, Mum, I don't feel very well. You want your mum when you feel poorly, not your dad necessarily, but the first reaction is to you. And maybe it's because they've worked out subliminally you're the relatively soft touch, although I know you're not. But there is something, even now, age 64, where I want my mum when I'm feeling like that.
In our house, actually, I'm the disciplinarian.
Yes. Oh.
Andrew is for fun. So when I'm away on a 2-day training weekend, they'll try the guilt trip. But the reality is I know Daddy takes them off and does fun stuff and they'll go out for lunch. Yeah. And actually they're almost like, go. We get to go to the arcade with Daddy. We don't do it with you.
My nieces and nephews always used to say, if we ask Mum first and she won't, and she says no, we go and ask Dad and he caves in.
I am our disciplinarian. I'm the bossy one, according to the children as well.
Let me ask, on a scale of 1 to 10 then, where's your guilt factor?
2 or 3.
Oh, good answer.
And because I know where I'm heading and what I'm trying to do. So, for example, last weekend I was away training. I didn't feel guilty at all. Not at all. It was... And that 2 or 3 is almost because I'm juggling, knowing I'm busy. But generally, no, I don't have it nowadays.
So you think you've organised it so that everybody's needs are met?
Yes.
Brilliant.
And that wouldn't surprise you because of the control freak nature in me.
Well, it doesn't sound that control freakery. It sounds balanced and nice. I mean, and actually, when you've got a bit of slack, you can over-respond when a situation calls it on either side, can't you? Work or
exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
And that's the bit where it's almost so. For example, if a client of mine was having a crisis, let's say over the summer, I can say, look, boys, it's nice weather. Go and play in the garden. Go play football. Or here's your iPads. Or here's something. I need to just do this.
Yeah.
One of Mummy's clients needs her, and they go, okay, that's fine.
Okay, good.
So,
Nicola, one last question, or are we just about to boot Amanda so that we can do our next one?
No, but I mean, it sounds like it's a hard-won victory and over many years. So I hope that nobody listening will think, oh my goodness, Amanda's got it all sorted out, and make themselves feel even more guilty. It's a choice, isn't it? You can choose to be, it's like everything. You can choose to be in victimhood, or you can take some positive measures to make yourself feel better and work out what you need to do that.
Yeah. And it's baby steps.
Yeah.
And it's not the same for all of us.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Good
Lovely.
stuff. Well done, Amanda. Nice one.
Exactly. You've started us off really well. Thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate
all right.
it.
I'll let you know when you're going to be on, as it were.
Okay, cool. Lovely.
All right. See you then.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go. I used to pay for mine to go off to little camps in the holidays. That was how I dealt with it. And
Yes.
I did used to try and take a week or 2 off to be with them.
Yeah.
And, really, I had to just make sure we left the country because I would struggle to carry on working. And that was the one thing I remember about being a mum, was the horrible torn feeling that you're never quite there when the children are there, and you're never quite in your work when you're with children. But okay, good. So what's your word of the week then?
I'm so sorry to do this. It's prorogue. Do you know what that means?
No.
Well, it's all the rage in the UK at the moment because Boris Johnson is discontinuing a session of Parliament, or rather Legislative Assembly, without dissolving it. He's blocking MPs from sitting in the House of Parliament so they can't block Brexit. Now, we won't talk about it. We won't talk.
Do that?
Well, there's a word for it. It's called prorogue. How could he do it? I don't know. It's the end of democracy. As far the day he did it, which was about a week ago, I couldn't breathe all day because it's like, oh no, this is so wrong. This is so wrong. I couldn't breathe. But I can't let this stuff drag me down. It is. This whole topic is dragging us into areas we thought we'd never go, and the streets of Britain have been alive with people, pro-democracy people this week. It hasn't happened for a very long time in the country. It has happened once before, I don't know, 400 years ago or something. It is something, well, Parliament's very old. It is something they've dragged out of the, playbook. It makes you ponder the concept of, do the ends justify the means? So if you've got an end in mind in any area of your life, not Boris and Parliament, but if you've got an end in mind and you're absolutely swivel-eyed convinced it's right, are the means justified? For me, they're not, you see, and I realise that I'm overly moral, and that probably gets in my own way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always had a problem as well. So,
well, I can feel it. I was trying to describe it to my group. I can feel it in my body, and it's the clairsentient thing. I couldn't breathe. It was like I was lying on the ground with a heavy rock on my chest. And I thought I won't go there on the first week of the podcast. I'll say democracy and leave it at that. But but I couldn't this morning. I couldn't. I had to say. Anyway, tell me yours.
Waste. Because I've realised that I've just let all this fantastic content go to waste, and I can't, I just can't believe I have. Well, I suppose I had to have a little period away from it. When things go wrong, you need a bit of a period of healing, don't you? But it was all just sitting there, ready to put it all back together again. And I thought, oh, that'll be interesting. And I can't, so I don't like waste. I like the fact that things are working for you all the time. So I might go and have a hunt around and see what else I've got now that I can make a funnel for.
We have mentioned this before, not to keep creating new, but to make the best of what we've already got. But there's a clue in the title of us being creators as well, which is the new is quite sexy to us.
Yes, but I don't feel the need anymore to create new product because my existing product is good. What I like doing is creating new ways of getting it in front of people.
Yeah.
That I'm finding that's quite satisfying enough for me now.
Yeah.
I hope. Project updates then.
No, none from me, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm hoping that you've delved and seen what impact, if any, our month off's made on our download numbers.
Yes, it has had an impact. But the good news is we have got to 118,958 downloads overall.
118 what?
118,958.
Okay.
And during August, we went from highs of 200, 300, 400 or 50 to 80 on a low day, and we've been averaging between 22 and 52 a day during August, so a noticeable difference, but nothing I don't think we can't come back from. Hopefully this episode will kick it off with a bang.
I'm just going to read you a funny quote about us being off for August from a client and somebody who's been a listener guest who is a very, 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 very funny woman, amusing woman. And she said, can I book into your diary? Yes. And I gave her the link to the diary. I said, if you can't find what you want, let me know. Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, probably not Thursday mornings, as Nicola and I are obviously podcasting, although this week we're doing it bizarrely on Wednesday and Friday. And she said, thank God you're coming back. Our long national nightmare is over. But that just tells you how funny she is, really. Not. Yeah.
Right. So my projects for next week are going, until we talk again, are going to be using my Facebook ads account, which is a long story. Did I tell you Phoebe's account got closed down?
No, but you told us you told us in the group that you'd been restored.
Well, I've been restored with one of my old accounts, which is interesting, but really very strange. And my goal is to get traffic running to the Money Gym funnel, which, as you may recall, has been a massive challenge over the years.
Yeah.
But the thing about ClickFunnels is every time you build a new funnel, you can buy a domain name and assign it to that funnel, so you can have marketing funnels on the front end that have nothing to do with the things that nobody likes on the back end.
Tempting.
I know. So I have done exactly that. And I have today got some ads running that may or may not produce leads for the back end that I've never been able to advertise since 2006.
Oh.
Which is an interesting thought, isn't it?
It is.
And the other thing I want to do this week is learn how to do YouTube ads, because apparently they're dirt cheap and they're done through Google ad platforms. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay. All right. Good. Now, tell me who or what's impressed.
Well, I'm afraid to say the name again, but the ClickFunnels has impressed. I've burst my own bubble on this one because I've talked about it too much too soon. But it's not just the software; it's the training. I mean, $100 for the training, it's worth at least 10 to 20 times that. I've been very impressed with Russell Brunson. I've been very impressed with his team. Their support's superb. It's just been a really impressive experience.
Cool.
Yeah. And you?
Well, before we went away, I told you the story. It was in the last episode when it was before you were restored and we were all a bit despairing, if you remember.
Yes, I do remember.
And I told you the story of a client who was saying the same things to me, which is, I get all this traffic, it's no good to me anymore, and then everything's changed, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I don't know how to make the best of it. And I said to her, why don't you do a live video every day in August? Yeah. And she said, because she is an astrologer, it was Mercury retro, and she never likes to make a decision in a hurry. She's a very thoughtful, paced person. She said, I might. Let me see how I feel. Anyway, come August the 1st. In fact, in advance of August the 1st, she did one, and it went rather well. And starting bang on August the 1st and every day for 31 days, she did one. And to cut a long story short, they were fantastic. If I'd known she was going to be so brilliant on camera, I would have suggested this a long time ago. They were short, they were interesting. August had huge astrology. They were very shareable. She had a different outfit for each one. She made some sales. She increased her visibility, and she got at least 2 invitations from third parties, one by the 10th that had seen her who wouldn't have seen her otherwise, and she got them on YouTube.
Wow, that's brilliant.
Sally Kirkman is the astrologer, and I've actually propositioned her before the holidays for coming on here to talk to us. I know you don't do astrology, but I challenged her, come on the podcast and talk about astrology for Brian Cox fans. And what is there for people like Brian Cox in astrology? And she went, oh yeah, I can do that. I mean, she's a bright person who has studied a lot. And that didn't throw her at all.
Her daily videos have even crossed my timeline.
Well, because I shared every single one because they were brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's great, and I'm really glad that So she's not going to stop now, is she? Sure.
She's not going to stop. She's not going to stop video, but she's not going to do one every day. But we are mid conversation about where next after that. But she was before. She has a daughter who's 19 now, but before the daughter was born, or when the daughter was younger, or before I knew her, she was quite a high profile astrologer, with a column in TV Times or something like that in the media. Yeah. And of course the media isn't the same anymore, but she can be her own media outlet. Yeah. If she's got a video channel, she can be her own media outlet. And I said to her, I do think the answer's in here for you in video somewhere, because she did it so well. I can't bear video. Yeah. I thought they were really watchable. Different outfits, different backgrounds. Brilliant.
Well, good for her. Good for her.
And I've written here commitment, nice results, although she's impatient for more. Aren't we all?
Well, if she's impatient for more, she should carry on, because it all changes once you get more than 100 videos on, apparently.
But also, I think she didn't buy it hook, line, and sinker when I suggested it. She thought about it, and in her own time, she emerged, and she obviously decided in her own head she was going to do 31 days, and she started on the first, and she did 31, and that most of us wither on the vine. That's quite a commitment.
Yeah, it's tough to be consistent. Absolutely.
Yeah, from a standing start. So what's impressed me is that the commitment to do the 31 and complete the task.
Yeah, good for her.
Yeah.
Well, she could just keep going another 90.
Well, she wasn't sure she wanted to, but I think certainly already there's been 1 or 2 more gone out since the end of August. So I think clearly she's got the bug a bit.
3 times a week would do it.
Well, I said you don't have to do it every day. I agree. Yeah. We're in the middle of. I've asked her, but I haven't had an answer yet. How long does it take her to actually do it? Once we know that, we'll be able to assess whether the results are worth it, or whether the results are likely to grow the more she does it, or whatever. But I just think, August, the rest of us are all slacking off, and she committed and completed 31 days. Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Well done, Sally.
Yeah, well done, Sally.
I was impressed. I've been watching. Good stuff. Okay, well, that's us then for this week.
Yes. And I'll see you next week, although it's only 48 hours away in our real time, isn't
it? So I'll have to really be motoring to get some stuff done by then.
Me too. Yeah. I've held a little bit of my summer holidays back, but not much.
All right. See you Friday.
See you then. Yeah. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.